Hello, Tom Levecki here with the weekly edition of the weekly live stream with Dr. Steinbrech on the Male Plastic Surgery YouTube channel. Dr. Steinbrech, how are you doing today?
You got it. I'm doing fantastic. Had a really good day. Some surgery early on the day. Did some beautiful bicep implants, put in the guns, and then we did a kind of a mini torso tuck. A guy is like in phenomenal shape, just like amazing shape, but he had an injury to his median nerve, one of the nerves in his arm, and then he lost his bicep got very atrophied. So he lost the volume of the bicep. So he slipped in a bicep implant and just like really, really, really great shape. But he had a little skin from some weight loss. So I did an umbo float, moved the belly button down and trimmed off the extra skin. He's going to look just rocking.
Love it. Before we jump, you get a bicep implant. You can still obviously work out and do bis and tris, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do it all. You just, it's not going to affect your workout. And it sits underneath your underneath the muscle belly, so it just really acts as a platform. So you still can get a really nice peak to your bicep. Doesn't have any effect because we slide right through the muscle underneath the muscle. It doesn't have any effect on your workout.
Beautiful. All right. So Dr. Steinbrech every year, if you may not know, which you may not, comes out with the 10 most requested faces. Because what happens is people come in and they bring some inspos, young people call it inspirations. They maybe want the jawline or some contouring or something to their face, and they bring in obviously celebrities or notable people. So Dr. Steinberg kind of keeps like kind of a mental note of those guys that they want to look like, and the list changes kind of every year. So this year's list has been released, and we'll jump right in.
Dun, dun.
So, Doc, we'll jump right in.
Yeah.
So, if anybody has any questions, I got to kind of toggle back and forth. I'm not ignoring anybody. It's funny. I get more text questions from people that know the show because they're shy about asking questions with the name. Don't be shy, guys. We're not going to, nobody's going to chastise you. So, with that being said, 10 most requested male faces going into 2024. So, number 10 is Jacob Elordi. Doc, tell us a little bit about him. And why
he's a great guy. He's new to the list, and he's just a shooting star. Every once in a while, you get new people on where you're like, this guy's going to be another Brad Pitt. I really can feel it. This guy's very talented. He's got the looks. He's also got the chops, which means he's got some good acting skills. He was known for a serial TV show in Australia. So he's Australian. So he's kind of like Hugh Jackman, but a very younger version, really tall, dark and handsome, but he's still very young. You're going to know him because of two things. He's in he plays Elvis in the Priscilla movie, right? So that just came out, and he really got some good reviews for that. But then he's also in this really quirky new movie, which is great, like as one of these Oxford movies where the rich eat their young, and it's about him going out to his family's country house and having a strange visitor come out for that. So that's a great movie called Saltburn, which is something that you have to see.
Oh, important note, really quick, Doc. I should have said this before. We're not suggesting that they got anything done, and nor are we suggesting the doctor treated any of these particular individuals. We're just the inspirations.
These are inspirations. So the inspirational thing for him is his jawline, and he's very slender. And he actually, remarkably, people always want a more squared off chin. He has a more delicate chin. It looks good on him. Sometimes you would think it's feminizing, like a Reese Witherspoon, but for him, it actually looks really nice.
Nice. All right. So number 9 on the list is Idris Elba, very handsome gentleman, I believe, from the UK. Tell us a little bit about why people like to emulate his look.
Very handsome. Obviously, it's because it's just like handsome, rugged features. He's got a beautiful squared off chin. It's even through a beard, because beards are so popular. Probably almost 50% of men have them now. And even with a beard, if it's more closely cropped, you can see the silhouette of their jawline. And I actually do, funnily enough, a lot of male model makeovers where we do cheekbone and jawline, and people have to be injected right through the beard, where seemingly you would think, well, that's, sort of a waste. It's not at all. It really makes a difference, and it really plays through the beard. So yeah, he was on last year. He's a holdover because he's just like, people still want his look.
Now, that's one of the things that I'm glad you point out, because we see a lot of the interactions with the websites and questions. Having a beard doesn't necessarily restrict you from wanting a good jawline, and there's things that you could still do, obviously, with the beard. So that was a good point, Doc.
Yeah, not at all.
Kind of like now old school in a way, because he's been around forever, but still a young guy, Justin Bieber.
Yeah, people like Justin, same thing, a really high cheekbone. He has, they also like, the reason why they request Justin is he has a very slender, and people come in and ask for a buckle fat pad resection. So that's that little egg yolk that everybody has there. That's that walnut that yeah, I know you're hiding those. You're hiding those walnuts for the winter. No, you don't need to. You don't need them. I have mine from thanks to my great grandmother from Czechoslovakia. Thanks very much. And but a lot of people have them. So what we do is we go make a tiny nick incision, go through, and we pluck it out. Then just clamp, buzz it, and put in one stitch. It takes about 15 minutes to do the procedure. You can do it under local or under general. So the rule is sort of like, if you like to use general to get your teeth cleaned, or you get a little bit anxious, just even the thought of having surgery, it's probably better to be put to sleep. If you're not, if you just get your teeth cleaned with no problem, then we can do it under local. And you can see right where you're Justin. Again, not suggesting that he's had a buccal removal, but if you just see that slight Zoolander, the Zoolander hollowing out when he turns to the side, you can see it. You can see it right on that cheek, that little shadow there. That's what a buccal fat pad resection will look like. And this is another thing. People say, you'll go on the internet and people say, don't get it done because if you lose weight or when you get older, you lose facial fat and you're going to look gaunt and horrible when you get older. That's really only for 5-10% of the population. Think of a woman, a girl or a woman, grown woman, who dances, who's like lead ballerina for the Metropolitan dance, ballet. Something like that, yeah, that they weigh 85 pounds. Yeah, maybe that person would have a problem. But the most people, the rule of thumb, if you think you need it, you probably can benefit from having it. And it's just there's a lot of doctors out there that are hesitant to do a buckle because it's a little bit tricky. And you can get lost in the weeds. So they just don't like to do that because they've never been trained on them and they've never picked it up. And there is a pretty steep learning curve for it. So they usually tell you to go to the gym or lose some weight or you're going to look older on. So that's why you see a lot of that doomsday stuff about buccal fat pad resection, but it's great in men.
Got it. I got a text question. I told you some guys are, don't necessarily want to comment, but somebody who watches the show and somebody who has a question, but it's about body in this case. If I got delt implants, what should I do or get to complement a V shape?
If you want to get delt implants, what would you do to complement a V shape?
Yeah.
The best thing to do is just look at my website because we're just doing, you can get delt implants, and I do delt implants. I love implants, but you can just even do it just with body banking because if you get that Cobra back, and you have to look at my YouTube videos or go to Instagram and you can see a couple dudes because the back is the new abs. The abs are new to the chest. The chest were the new biceps, right? Yeah. We progressed. And now we're going away from the abs. The abs are so 2019. Now what guys want is they want that Cobra back. There's nothing sexy. I don't care if you're straight, you're gay, whatever. Everyone appreciates a woman, a man. Everyone appreciates a dude that has that Cobra back. So wider shoulders and a tighter waist. Everybody likes that. And so we suck out the fat there and we put it up, body bank it into the shoulders posterior, lateral, anterior deltoids, pop it into the traps. It looks amazing on my Instagram. We have a guy that's flexing. He's just a week out, and you can see from the before and after how crazy it is. What kind of a Cobra V-shaped back that he got. So that's what we can do it all just by moving around fat. So start eating those cookies, those holiday cookies.
Yep. Now, I don't know from a plastic surgeon standpoint, I know there's a golden ratio. Shouldn't the chest be, I think, 1.6 to 1 ratio from stomach to chest?
That's a good, I mean, people do a little bit more, a little bit less than that, but yeah, you could say that. I have to ask Italians about their mathematical golden rules. But yeah, that's a good ratio. It changes a little bit with society, with culture. Things always go up and down. Like now, it's probably more. People want to see the. It used to be like when we did liposuction, they used to say, "Don't make the men too narrow. It's feminizing." What guy on Instagram doesn't want to have a tiny waist? I'm sorry, they do. There's nothing feminizing about it. It's just plastic surgeons who didn't know how to be aggressive, or were afraid to be aggressive and have problems with irregularities. Now, with plastic surgeon has a lot of experience, who can be really aggressive. We can get just outstanding results for guys that have wider shoulders and a tiny waist.
Love it. All right, this one I like because this guy was on one of my favorite shows from back in the day. He was like a thief, and then was helping out the FBI. Matt Bomer, huge fan of him. Kind of like a classic kind of look, like the pronounced features.
Yeah.
Give us why I don't think he's a return, but give us why he made the list.
Same thing. He's got some classic style as well. Like this is something that Cary Grant would have worn. Just like a really very handsome, very slender. He's not all built out. Could be kind of a every guy's kind of guy. Handsome guy, approachable guy, looks very sincere. But just like it's also, super sexy look, and more of a slender, tall face. That I love when I see that as a patient, because we can go boom, 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 hit the 5 spots when we do our male model makeover on a slender face, and really effectively make those give you some really pow factor.
All right, so this one, and I'm not familiar with him. I believe it's pronounced Jean Cook. And as you say, face is a symphony of harmonious features. So give us why he made it.
So if you don't know who this is, you have to get out from under your rock, because this young gentleman was part of BTS and is a super duper star. So when you hear that song about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, I want to, depending on which version you say, it's either I want to make love to you every hour, every minute, every second, or they use the F word. So depending on which version you hear, he wants to be doing something to you every second of every hour of every day of the week. That's his big hit, but he's got more to follow. And he was just in last week. They did this really cool thing in Times Square where they opened up. They created a stage 3 stories up in Times Square, and it just basically opens up. And you have this huge balcony stage that now they have bands perform. So he performed in Times Square, in Times Square, which is pretty cool. This guy's a superstar. But the reason people like him is he's got that sort of flower. There's the K-pop thing with the Koreans and the flower child, flower boy look to them, where it's a little more subtle. It's not quite as strong and angular. It's a little bit softer. That's really what they look for. And that trend is starting to bleed over to the West slightly. So people are asking for that. It's a little bit different look from sort of the Brad Pitts and the classic, really chiseled Super Marvel looks. But it is a look that people are looking for.
Nice. Doc, pretty cool. Jason's working, and he's checking out the pod or the live stream.
All right, Jason.
So, Jason, hope we don't disappoint you on the list. Unfortunately, I don't want to disappoint you. I did not make the list this year of most requested faces.
Why isn't Jason on the list?
I was gonna say,
What
well,
happened?
neither.
I had him on the list. Somebody
I
took
don't
him
think
off.
I don't think neither of us made it because we're ugly. But aside for that, maybe we'll come see you and we can get a better look. All right, this one is obvious. International superstar, probably one of the most recognizable athletes, if not humans, on the planet. But Cristiano Ronaldo, kind of a different look, really thinner in shape. Give us kind of why
Yeah,
guys.
he's more really athletic, really ripped, really thin and fit. And you can just see, you feel like you can see the individual muscles of his face. Yeah, Jason, you were on the list. Tom,
Love it.
why'd you take him off? You're so cruel.
I was gonna say.
Um, but anyway, he's always a favorite because people really love for even for the more slender guys, they just have to be totally fit. Always have to have ripped abs because there's this thing about athletes and people that are so ripped that you actually need some facial fat, or you're going to look too emptied out, and maybe even look like you're ill, like you have some sort of illness.
Yeah.
And that's why for those people, we may actually add back in a little bit of Sculptra to soften up some of the extreme facial features. But yeah, he's definitely one. Speaking of soccer players,
Yes. So I don't think this one's a shocker. I believe he was on the list before in other years. Very kind of classic look, in shape gentleman. David Beckham, kind of, give us the, I bring my, that's the other thing too, right? You bring this photo and not, right? Obviously, you can't make them look exactly like them. But what specifically, is it the jawline? Is it they want their lips? Do they want more
yeah,
projection?
I mean, there's a general gestalt. I want to look like this, or they may look like, and I always talk about this in my videos about like we're going to turn you into your Hollywood twin. So some of these guys come in and they're almost doppelgangers, where
Yeah.
they come in and say, people have always said that I look like David Beckham, but they're not quite there. They just need a couple of tweaks to get them further along. And even in this picture where this is David Beckham channeling Ringo Starr, so you can still see how handsome he is behind all that facial hair and the crazy glasses. But David Beckham is always, people love him because of the strong jawline, the strong cheekbone, and he's very popular in the UK just in general. He stood 9 hours for the Queen's funeral, and he's going to be knighted for this. So stick around. He's going to become even more popular than ever. He'll be, mark my words, in the next year he will be Sir David Beckham.
Love it. Okay, now before we get to the next, kind of a trend going around. I've been meaning to ask you to do an Instagram on this. I haven't gotten around to it. Maybe Jason now. Like, Tom, do your job. Do the jaw balls work that you bite into that are supposed to give you that chiseled, look?
It's kind of an Instagram, it's kind of an Instagram grab. And one or two guys did it. And if you ever notice, the guys that do it, like, they have really strong jaw lines to begin with. And then their before and after is me not clenching the jaw. After is me clenching my jaw really tight. And it really worked for, like, one guy just went on fire with it. This is about a year or 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So they saw the views that this guy got. So then everyone started doing it. Does it do it a little bit? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But sometimes even you do it, when you don't do it, think of people that were like chew gum all the time. Your masseter is this whole area here. So a lot of times it's not like it really comes back. This is your jawline here. This is where the bone is. That's what you want. The masseter is the muscle that comes all the way from your temple, right, down to the bottom of your ramus, of your jawline. So if you're going to chew all that time, this whole thing is just going to balloon out. And we actually have people that chew too much gum, right? Or they may be from a nationality that has like very strong masseters, almost too much. You can't even see the jawline because this big blob is in front of it. And those people actually want Botox. So that's just another great thing to talk about. This is NASA technology. Botox, we use 50 units on each side to actually calm that down. So
Right,
just think about it. What we want is the bone. We want the corner of the bone. We don't want this whole masseteric thing covering up the bone and just creating a big blob there. So that if you think about the gangsters that are chewing gum all day, right? G-men chewing gum all day, and they look like they look like the Godfather. They have these big, wide, blobby kind of faces. They're not sharp and distinguished. So even if you think of it anatomically or physiologically, it's not going to be from chewing gum. In fact, chewing gum may do the reverse of what you think it's going to do.
Love it. So next up, Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, Ryan's got a great look. He's got a great look. He and Ryan Reynolds are like doppelgangers. They're like separated at birth, celebrity twins, that kind of thing. But Ryan has a really honest, earnest look. It looks like he's never going to age. Look at this on Park Avenue, Sirens on Park Avenue. Who would ever think? I love it. Love it. Really made it. So he's just got this really innocent look. It's not overdone. It's not hyper masculinized. It's almost a little bit in between, but he carries it off, and it's so natural looking that a lot of people like it.
If you were a betting man, we'll get into a little bit of tea because people like tea. I'm looking at him. I don't see much fillers on board. Maybe here, maybe it's a little.
He might have just a tiny bit in the chin there. Just little bits, but not very sparingly. That brings up another topic, and we've talked about this before. Just like when people are doing like a Marvel movie or a DC movie, when they're a superhero, just like they get out and they roll out the steroids and they get all jacked up. You can see the difference in some of these guys when they do these Marvel movies. And we're not suggesting that everybody's doing steroids, but a lot of them do. Yeah. But they also do steroids to the jawline. And you can clearly see this. I've talked about this before. If you look at some of these guys, when they're up for a role, they'll actually have injectables done along the jawline to really pump out their jawline and their cheekbone to really have that strong look for their superhero movie. And then afterwards, it naturally metabolizes, or you can even actually get it dissolved. Rarely do we dissolve it because people just look so good. But for instance, if you're done with this superhero movie, and now you have to be this meek priest from Vermont, so you can't really have that really super movie star look. So you could dissolve it to do your next movie.
Nice. So Jason, again, if you get your jawline procedure done, whether it be fillers or implant or whatever you decide to do.
Jason, man, you are like singing my song, brother. So this is what we get, the triple play. So what people classically come in from the triple play is buckle, because everything I do is addition and subtraction. So they come in not necessarily in this order, but they're usually trying to think about the neck, chin, and this area. And they don't know exactly what they want. They just need a more chiseled look, and they bring in one of these pictures. So the triple play is going to be submental liposuction for here, maybe some neck tight radio frequency to tighten up the skin. Sometimes a platysmoplasty, which tightens up the neck muscles. That's number one, the neck. Number two is going to be the buckle, and these can all be done at the same time. And then number three is going to be a nice rim of fillers and maybe a chin implant, or we can also do the jawline implants. Now, the thing you have to know about the jawline implants is they add volume, but they're not necessarily sharp. So we put the icing on the cake. The cake is the volume from the implant from the inside, but we also have to make it sharp on the outside with filler. That's a dirty little secret. Don't tell any of those other plastic surgeons out there.
Nice. This one's definitely not a shocker, but Chris Hemsworth at number two.
Yeah, so everybody knows him. So we're going to say Thor. So that's his big role and he just is always rocking it. And you can see with him, he'll get really, really jacked for some of these roles. And also same thing, nicest guy. I mean, I've seen this guy at movie screenings, and you could not just see a nicer, more amiable guy. He doesn't buy in. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's very self-effacing, and there's like no ego there. So that's the other thing that's just really charming about him that I think people really, really like. A guy who can be really really strong and very handsome and very chiseled, but also be self-effacing and not take himself too seriously. Like there's nothing uglier than a guy that has no charm and no sense of humor and really takes his looks so seriously. It's just nothing could be less attractive, right? So, but he sort of has it all, and but people come in because they want almost more of a bulky superhero. If people want a superhero look, that's what they want. Which brings us to another thing that I have to point out. After you have the jawline and the cheekbone, the next thing you do, the really superhero thing, is it's always underrated. But if people have a pinched temple, and we saw this is horrible, we call it the peanut head, and you know what I'm talking about. Nobody ever says, the waiter never goes, walks into the kitchen and says, did you see the hot guy at table 5 with the Superman temples, with the temples? No, nobody ever says that because nobody notices it. But it's a huge difference. You can have that big jawline and cheekbone and have these tiny little squeezed in wussy kind of temples. So for those guys, they don't even know to ask for it, but I suggest it to them. And after we do that, they're like, Doc, you are right. You hit it on the head. We want some Marvel Superman temples to square off and complete that look. And that definitely masculinizes those guys. So guys that really want a really, I don't want to say over top, but a hyper masculinized look are always gonna bring out Chris Hemsworth.
Before we get to number one, what's a recovery period for that triple play you
Triple
described?
play. 10 days to 2 weeks in a nutshell, because most of it's going to be a little bit of swelling from the buckle because it's just such sensitive inside, sensitive to swelling. So between that and a little bit of swelling down in the neck, it's going to be about a week to 10 days.
Thanks again, Jason. And get back to work. You're goofing off. All right.
Yeah.
So number one, an oldie but goodie, Mr. Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I think he's made every single list just because it's really about the Brad Pitt jawline, and he demonstrates both volume but also a very chiseled look. And Brad Pitt's had some challenges, man. I remember seeing this guy downtown, like in the, oh my God, I'm going to date myself. First time I saw him at a dinner was in 1996.
Wow.
And he was with this blonde girl that nobody knew. He sat down at his table and he was dating this blonde girl. And I remember the girls were swarming to this table because they wanted to sit next to him, and they bumped this blonde girl on the head.
Wow.
And everybody looked, who was that blonde girl that Brad Pitt was with last night? And then the next day on page 6, it said it was a young new actress called Gwyneth Paltrow.
Wow.
Nobody knew Gwyneth at that point. At least in the broader term. She's a fantastic actress. So that is Brad Pitt. They want that sharp jawline. Lots of projection. Almost over-exaggerated.
Love it. So that's the top 10 list. On the replay crew watching, who did you like that made the list? Any suggestions for next year's list? And Doc, this was a fun one. So give us kind of like the closing remarks, and then we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I think this is the most fun list we've had because we're starting to see sort of like variability. It's not like everyone comes in with a jutting jawline and a jutting cheekbone. This really kind of goes into like the hyper masculine classic Marvel hero to a more softer one like Ryan Gosling, to even into the K-pop, the Flower Boy, which is going to be almost a little more feminized. Yeah. So it's really kind of it shows a little bit of a diversity of the different types that people are looking for. So it's kind of exciting.
Love it. We got some requests, and Doc and I used to stream on Instagram. StreamYard, when I go for the options, doesn't show Instagram. So I'm gonna write them. There might be like an API or workaround. So I would love to stream concurrently, on YouTube and Instagram, which would be fun. Doc, your time's precious as always. Thank you so much for this week's live, and we'll see everybody next week.
I'll see you in the OR tomorrow at 6 a.m. Have a nice torso